Good morning. This is Morning Matters, and sitting in for Gretchen Hall, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Wednesday, the 5th of March. We're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Here are the stories that matter today. Pope Francis's health slightly improved after suffering from 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure on Monday. Stay tuned as we provide updates live from the Vatican. Communications Secretary Jay Ruiz clarified that he was never a stockholder of Digital 8, but served only as a representative and the head of sales and marketing. An F-A-50 fighter jet from the Philippine Air Force went missing during a tactical operation, and while search and rescue efforts are underway, the Philippine Air Force has not released details about the mission. And the Lenten season begins today, Ash Wednesday. We will also take a look at the situation in Quiapo, Manila later on in the program. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Pope Francis continues treatment for double pneumonia more than 2 weeks after his hospitalization. And now let's get more details from Morning Matters host Gretchen Ho, who joins us all the way live from Rome in Italy. Hi, Gretchen. Good morning here from the Philippines. What can you tell us about the latest status on the condition of Pope Francis?
Good morning, Pauline. It is the start of the Lenten season, as you mentioned, but Ash Wednesday today will miss Pope Francis as he continues to recover from double pneumonia.
In the latest medical bulletin released Tuesday night, the Vatican announced that the Pope's condition remains stable following 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure on Monday. He was described as alert, cooperative, and oriented. No further episodes of respiratory failure or bronchospasm have been recorded. He has also transitioned to high-flow oxygen therapy and will continue on non-invasive mechanical ventilation until later today. While this marks an improvement in his condition, it is worth noting that the bulletin did not mention the Pope being up and about as he had been in recent days. The prognosis remains guarded. We gained more insight into the Pope's condition from the Philippine ambassador to the Holy See.
Kita naman, probably from around the Christmas season kasi hectic yan for the Vatican. He had difficulty breathing talaga. And hindi niya natatapos yung homily or yung mga catechesis niya. But for a man his age, he gives a very punishing schedule na I guess he starts at 8 o'clock. And then sunod-sunod yan yung mga appointments niya. Even sa nababasa ko sa schedule niya, I get tired from just reading yung anong mga activities that he is supposed to do during the day. And he travels. But nakita ko rin from engagements and encounters dun sa Vatican that he gets a boost when he meets people, especially the youth. If may occasions during papal masses na may maraming mga kabataan and they keep shouting his name, mas lalong humahaba yung kanyang ikot.
Makahilig says the unprecedented daily health updates being released by the Vatican are a response to the call of the public.
Is one for transparency, and yun nga, yung concern niya na people do not get too concerned as well sa kanya. Di ba parang it's a way to ease yung concern ng mga tao sa kanya. So I can imagine na he would want people to know his situation so that they are given some measure of reassurance as well.
It is no surprise, though, as Pope Francis has made significant changes during his time as Pope.
He leads from the ranks. Hindi siya yung somebody who's way up there na detached and parang difficult to get to. His accessibility is something that endears him and makes for a good leader kasi nakikita ng tao na he is one of them.
As to whether his health deteriorated due to a widening gap in the Vatican's finances and a reported clash with cardinals due to Pope Francis' creation of a high-level task force to do a Vatican-wide auditing?
I think a lot of the niya was really to to do a system change. Hindi lang naman siya nag-target ng individuals. It wasn't really a witch hunt na targeting a particular person, but ang administrative changes that he has pushed was really to make the Vatican City State and the church itself function better and do its work more efficiently and get get the benefits to the intended recipients talaga.
And with the Pope's roller coaster of a ride in the hospital, the Filipino faithful continue to express its solidarity even from within the Vatican.
Praying is something that has always been a strong suit for any believer. So we continue to pray that he pulls through with this one. And we also pray for the church itself, no, na just like any other entity that could be facing transition, that it will stand firm and continue on.
That was Philippine Ambassador to the Holy See, Myla Makahilig, sharing with us her experiences with the Pope, giving insight to what's happening inside the Vatican and the place of Filipinos here in this Catholic city-state. She also mentioned that there was probably the piling up of the physical stress over the Christmas season and also the mental stress with all the changes that's happening, with the financial struggles and with the clash with the cardinals. Siguro lahat yun nagsama-sama and weakened his immunity. That's why he has actually been sick for longer than he has been in the hospital. Ang nakwento sa atin dito, Paulina, 2 weeks daw siyang may bronchitis bago siya nagpa-confine. So as you can see, it was really a full stretch. And you can see that also in hospitalization. In the meantime, just like in the Philippines, there will be a mass celebrated here in Rome. The only difference would be there is actually a procession right before the mass. So that procession will start in the Church of San Anselmo. A stational liturgy will be held there, and then the procession, and then the Ash Wednesday Mass to be presided by Cardinal Angelo De Donatis over at the Basilica of Santa Sabina. Now, that Mass will be attended by cardinals, archbishops, bishops, Benedictines, and Dominicans. Now, I asked if actually this mass was open to the public because I wanted to go. And they say, no, it is a private ceremony, but you can get tickets. So we managed to get a hold of tickets. Later, we will join that mass. But for the public, this will be available via live stream outside St. Peter's Basilica. Pauline?
Well, Gretchen, you're right. It does mark the start of the Lenten season with Ash Wednesday, and our prayers go out to Pope Francis. But lastly, Gretchen, kamustahin ko lang din na yung Filipino community dyan. I know the last few days you got to speak with them. And I know malapit sa puso ni Pope Francis ang mga Pinoy, di ba?
And to be honest, the Filipino community is troubled. This is a day-to-day monitoring. One day, the Pope is okay, and the other, something happens. Everybody is on their toes when it comes to the whole situation. As of what we're hearing, there are even some cardinals who have canceled some of their schedules because of what's happening to the Pope. But yung ating sariling cardinal, si Cardinal Tagle, tuloy-tuloy lang ang kanyang trabaho, napaka-busy, hirap nga niyang abutan. Kasi nga, yun nga, the Pope is getting better. There's no reason to cancel schedules. But as of us and everybody, the Filipinos here, everybody's praying in their own way for the Pope. And tama ka, the Filipino community is very close to the heart of the Holy See. In fact, that embassy was just outside the St. Peter's Basilica. Sabi nga sa atin, kung kailangan mo mag-charge dito, kung kailangan mo po magkape, kumain, pwede kang pumunta rito mag-hangout. Kasi sa katabilan talaga, sobrang daming tao dun sa St. Peter's Square. Pero kung gugustuhin mo, andun lang. Maswerte tayo, kasi ganun yung pagtanggap sa mga Pilipino. At talagang nagulat din ako kasi ang kwento sa atin, napakarami ditong mga pare at mga madre. At siguro mga 500 to 600 in Rome. And the nuns actually outweigh the priests. So we usually see the priests kasi sila yung active, mas mobile, mas out and about. the nuns usually stay in the monastery where they are, but they actually outnumber the priests here. And magugulat ka na lang pag may naglalakad ng mga madre, bigla lang, uy, may Pinoy! Uy, may Pinoy si
Mm.
ate! Kaya nakakatuwa kasi I think this is something that we don't know very much about. There's even the Colegio Filipino where the priests stay there to study here in the Vatican to pursue a PhD and doctorate. So the Filipino community is very much alive, and we are very much in prayer for the health of Pope Francis.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us updates there. We're going to let you rest tonight already, Gretch. I know it's already 1 in the morning there, and you have a long day ahead covering, of course, the status of Pope Francis there live from Rome. Once again,
Thanks
that
for
was
filling
Gretchen
in,
Hall.
Pauline.
You're very much welcome, Gretch, and take care there in Rome. All right, well, the Lent season begins with Ash Wednesday today, and now we will be talking more about this with Father Jerome Ceciliano, Executive Secretary of CBCP's Committee on Public Affairs. Good morning, Father Jerome, and thank you for joining us this morning on Morning Matters.
Hi, good morning, Pauline. Good morning to your televiewers.
Father Jerome, as we've been reporting throughout the program, today marks the start of the Lenten season. It is Ash Wednesday today. But I just wanted to go back, Father, sa essence po ng Lenten season. Can you help us understand, Father, yung significance po ng season na ito, and why is it so important for Catholics to receive Ash today?
Well, number one, we have to understand that Lenten season is a call for repentance and conversion. There is also a call for reconciliation. And there is also a challenge to do some sacrifices. Ngayon, kailangan natin gawin ito kasi ang buhay naman natin ng pagsunod kay Kristo ay buhay naman ng pagtanggap sa sufferings, di ba, sa challenges and difficulties. When we speak, for example, of fasting and abstinence, these are penitential practices. It's a form of self-denial. Ngayon, kinakailangan naman natin na magpa-impose ng asa sa ating mga noo for us to be reminded na meron tayong pinanggalingan at kung saan man tayo nanggaling, doon tayo babalik. So from dust and unto dust, we shall return. Pero ngayon, yung formula na ginagawa na ng pare is a reminder nga na reconciliation, conversion. Kasi sinasabi na turn away from sin and believe the gospel.
And Father, of course, during this 40-day Lenten season, there are traditions being followed, right? And kasama na po doon ang fasting and abstinence. Father, sino-sino po ba ang required mag-observe ng fasting and abstinence, at kailan po ba ito ginagawa?
Okay, the Code of Canon tells us that those who will fast, dapat nasa age of majority. Ang age of majority ay 18. So hanggang 60 years old yan, fasting yan. At yung abstinence naman ay those who completed the age of 14. So 14 years old and above. Ngayong Ash Wednesday, ginagawa yung fasting and abstinence. And for the information of everyone na nakikinig at nanonood sa atin, pag sinabi nating fasting, you only eat one full meal ngayong araw na to. At saka yung Good Friday. Pag sinabi naman natin na abstinence, so we abstain, we refrain from eating meat. At kung ano yung mga cold-blooded animals na tinatawag. So pwede tayong kumain lang siguro ngayon ng gulay, fish, diba? Shellfish, mga katulad nun. Pero yung meat, we refrain from it. Ngayon magtatanong, bakit naman we have to refrain from meat? Alam mo, yung sinisimbolize kasi po din ng meat, parang masyadong mahal na pagkain, diba? Tapos luxurious. European kasi yung context nito. Diba? Ang kinakain nila doon is steak. So kaya dito, nung in-adapt natin, parang gano'n na yung thinking, na yung meat ay we refrain from it. Kung ano man siyempre yung matitipid natin from fasting and abstaining, yan pwede nating itulong yan sa ating kapwa. Kasi ando doon din yung challenge sa tayo ay tumulong sa kapwa natin, magbigay tayo ng abuloy sa mga tao na nangailangan.
So Father, ang fasting po, so kasama po dyan ang Ash Wednesday today. Kailangan na rin po ba i-avoid yung meat? Or kailangan, or pwede naman po yun considering na 1 meal a day or 1 meal lang po for today?
Yeah, as I mentioned, fasting and abstinence will be done today, Ash Wednesday. Tsaka sa Fridays, actually, if to be very sick about it, Good Friday, Ash Wednesday, tsaka Good Friday. Pero sa Code of Canon Law, ito yung batas ng simbahan, meron tayong tinatawag dito na mga penitential days and times. Yung penitential days, all Friday siya ng taon. Okay? Yan ang ideal na dapat na ginagawa. Pero depende din naman yan sa bishops' conferences kung ano ba yung gagawin talaga, kailan nila gagawin yung fasting and abstinence. Pero absolute yan, Ash Wednesday, tsaka Good Friday,
Bawala.
gagawin natin yon.
Okay.
Ngayon yung iba, medyo sumusunod talaga sa sinasabi ng batas, kaya lahat ng Fridays, wala talaga silang meat. Okay, pero ngayon ulitin ko, Ash Wednesday, fasting and abstinence tayo ngayon at saka Good Friday. Yung iba, okay, lahat ng Fridays, nag-abstain talaga sila from eating meat.
Tama po kayo, Father, may mga sumusunod po, pero meron din na mga hindi masyadong nakakasunod dito sa tradisyon na ng Lent. I wanted to get your thoughts, Father, on ano po yung mga pagbabago na nakita niyo po, especially with the younger generations, on how we celebrate Lent. Would you say that we Filipinos still embrace the essence of this season? O nawala na po ba yun sa tradisyon ng mga Pilipino?
Well, I do believe, Filipinos still practice, these Lenten observances. They would go to church. Siguro, ngayong araw na to, ang mga simbahan ay mapupuno talaga ng mga tao. Mapapansin mo yan na tuwing Ash Wednesday, napakarami talagang mga tao na nagsisimba. So I guess, doon pa lang ay meron ng response kagad na magagaling sa mga tao. Ngayon sa young people of today, palagay ko yung fasting and abstinence, they have to be told, they have to be reminded, they have to be educated. Napakaganda na nagkakaroon tayo ng ganitong talakayan kasi yung iba hindi talaga aware eh. So kinakailangan lang na bigyan sila ng awareness para yung kanilang response magiging positive. If you tell them naman na merong ganon, sumusunod naman. Pero meron talagang mga mangilan-ngilan na hindi talaga nakakagawa nun. Ang simbahan naman dito ay nakakaunawa kasi meron din naman yan leeway eh. For example, yung mga may sakit, hindi naman kinakailangan mag-fast yan kasi may sakit. Tapos yung mga halimbawa ay more than 60 years old na. Okay? Tapos sa physically weak. Kung hindi man sakit, may sakit, physically weak na. Well, sila naman din ay in-exempt natin sa fasting. Pero nga, dapat mag-determine ang Catholic Bishops' Conference ng anong mga alternatives. So usual na alternative yan yung tinatawag nating corporal works of mercy. Ano yung halimbawa ng corporal work of mercy? Bumisita ka sa may sakit, bumisita ka sa mga nasa bilangguan, tumulong ka sa nangangailangan. These are just some alternatives na pwedeng gawin ng mga hindi nakakapag-fast at nakakapag-abstain.
Okay, Father, speaking of alternative ways, paano po ba ine-encourage ng simbahan ang younger generation to observe nga these Lenten activities? May iba po bang way dyan na kasama na ang digital platforms? Because I remember during the pandemic, dito po talaga rin nagkaroon ng shift ang simbahan sa streaming, di ba? Para mas maging accessible din in this world of digitalization.
Well, when it comes to accessibility of information, tama yung binabanggit mo, itong mga digital platforms, social media platforms, malaking bagay ito to reach out to the people. Ang ano nga lang natin dito concern, kahit naman minsan na-educate mo, yung response naman ng iba, hindi ganun ka-positive. But we remain naman optimistic. But when we tell them, ando doon naman yung kanilang pagtanggap sa mga gawain. Ngayon, paano nila mas maiintindihan at ma-absorb yung kahalagahan nitong mga Lenten observances? Well, basically, we tell them that in life, it's all about parang lahat kagalakan, lahat sarap, lahat enjoyment. So we also need to do some forms of sacrifices. At itong mga pinagagawa sa atin ng simbahan, ito yung mga ilang bagay na ipapahayag natin na nagsasakripisyo tayo. And this is actually done to be united with Jesus in all the sacrifices that He made. If you recall, for example, when He was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, He fasted, abstained, and prayed. So yung ginagawa natin ngayon, this is actually parang penitential practices na nakikiisa tayo sa ating Panginoong Hesukristo. So yung ganong idea pa lang, I think it's a noble idea that the young and all the people for that matter should really understand.
Okay, Father, I don't know if you were able to catch our report with Gretchen earlier, who is in Rome to monitor the status of Pope Francis. Father, I wanted to ask about how meaningful will Lenten season be Now that, of course, the Pope is under um, going through something in terms of health, and how is the church celebrating Lent, or how is the church in the Philippines celebrating Lent all the more this year?
Well, basically, when we consider the condition of the Holy Father, Pope Francis, there's always that intention of begging the Lord, to grant him healing and assure him. So that's always been the case, especially since when Pope Francis was hospitalized. When speaking of celebrating the Lenten season, alam mo yung isang particular na intention dito is to offer the Pope's sufferings, yung illness niya, sa Panginoon. Kasi ang tingin namin dito, Pauline, pakikiisa ito sa mga paghihirap din, pagpapakasakit ng ating Panginoong Jesucristo. So it's always that mentality, we always have that orientation. And this is not something that isolated in a sense na sa Santo Papa lang nagkakasakit, siya lang yung nahihirapan. Pero ando dun lagi yung pananaw na okay, the Holy Father is actually sharing in the sufferings of Christ. But of course, we remain optimistic that after this bout with the sickness, he's going to regain his strength at makapagpapatuloy pa siya sa mga ginagawa niya para sa simbahan. Yung reforms niya ay magbubunga talaga. So yun ang ngayon ang aming orientation at mentality when we celebrate this Lenten season.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us here on Morning Matters in this holy day of Ash Wednesday. Maraming salamat po, Father Jerome Ceciliano of the CBCP.
Thank you so much, Pauline.
Now, in other news, 20-year-old Heart Aquino was given a tour of the COMELEC office. She is the noontime show contestant who went viral after admitting that she lacked knowledge about the COMELEC. Although the agency's guided tour was brief, Aquino said it still helped her gain some understanding. But she did clarify that she had already voted in the Sangguniang Kabataan elections, but was confused during the Q&A portion of the contest that she joined. Aquino also thanked the COMELEC for welcoming her and apologized for her previous remarks. Following this, the Commission on Elections said she could be an ambassador for their ongoing voter education campaign.
Mas naunawaan ko po yung meaning po din talaga ng COMELEC and kung ano pa po talaga yung ginagawa po nila. And dine-encourage ko po na mas alamin pa po din po talaga natin yung trabaho po ng COMELEC.
Meanwhile, the COMELEC has dismissed the disqualification case filed against the Tulfos running for the midterm polls. The COMELEC First Division argued that the petition is, quote, insufficient in form. It added that the petitioner failed to provide the copies of the respondents' COCs, which would have been vital in order to properly verify necessary information alleged in the petition. The respondents of the case include senatorial candidates Ben and Erwin Tulfo and 3 other members of their clan. Now we're gonna take a quick break, but don't go away. We'll be back with more stories here on Morning Matters. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. I'm Pauline Verzosa sitting in for Gretchen Ho. Presidential Communications Office Secretary Jay Ruiz denies being an incorporator of a media company. Here's that report.
Communications Secretary Jay Ruiz wants to set the record straight over his involvement with Digital 8. That media company reportedly bagged contracts with the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, worth millions of pesos. Ruiz said he was never a stockholder of the firm, but was a mere representative and sales and marketing head. He said he has already resigned in January.
Kaya malakas ang loob ko. Humarap sa inyo ngayon, wala akong kinitang 200 million.
Ruiz admitted to owning other businesses that include restaurants and a political management firm, which he claims he's in the process of divesting from. The PCO secretary noted the effect of this controversy on his family and their safety, and even contemplated about suing.
I was contemplating on siyempre yung una mo reaction, di ba? File a legal action against these purveyors of fake news. Pero nung naitulog ko, naisip ko, baka naman lalo lang tayong madistract. Madistract tayo sa focus na ano ang kinakailangan gawin bilang Presidential Communications Office.
Ruiz criticized the story for excluding his side, despite personally knowing the owners of the news site behind the story.
Kilala ko naman si dating Secretary, Undersecretary Ray Marfil. Kilala ko, nakasama ko siya sa Senate. Kilala ko rin naman si Hil Kabakungan na nakasama ko rin sa House. Ang dami kong kakilala, common friends, na nandun. In fact, isa nga dyan si Benji Liwanag.
The individuals mentioned by Ruiz have yet to provide a statement on the issue.
Meanwhile, Senator Risa Ontiveros pressed immigration officials on the whereabouts of former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque during a hearing on Tuesday. Ontiveros expressed frustration over Roque's ability to travel freely while evading arrest for alleged human trafficking. She revealed receiving information that Roque flew from Dubai to Shanghai on December 8, 2024, before heading to Macau the next day. Ontiveros also criticized Roque for freely posting on social media and allegedly mocking the government. The Bureau of Immigration acknowledged sightings of Roque in Dubai, but admitted that they had no further details on his movements beyond that point.
Where, for God's sake, is Harry Roque? Bakit parang libre na lang siyang mag-post ng kung ano-ano sa social media na parang kinukutya pa ang administrasyon at mga otoridad natin while avoiding arrest for charges of human trafficking? According to my sources, Harry Roque flew into Shanghai from Dubai on December 8, 2024. Stayed in Shanghai for just 1 day, and then flew out to the casino city of Macau. Sino kaya ang tumutulong sa kanya?
A Philippine Air Force aircraft was reported missing during a tactical night operation on Tuesday. The FA-50 fighter jet was conducting tactical night operations over Mactan, Cebu. It lost communications to other aircraft just minutes before it was supposed to land. The Air Force said the missing aircraft has a crew of 2 pilots. They are now conducting extensive and thorough search operations to locate the missing jet fighter. And shifting gears to sports, Alas Pilipinas standouts Brian Bagunas and Ea Laure have been named ambassadors for the Philippines hosting of the 2025 FIVB Men's Volleyball World Championship. Bagunas and Laure will lead promotional efforts both locally and internationally, including an international roadshow, a mascot contest, a trophy tour, and a special 100-day countdown in June. Meanwhile, indie folk pop band Ben & Ben will serve as the tournament's official music partner. This marks the Philippines' second appearance in the tournament since 1974. And the event will take place from September 12 to 28 at the Mall of Asia Arena. When we return, let's talk about health and politics with former Undersecretary and HEAL PH Party List nominee, Dr. Eric Tayag. Don't go away. Morning Matters. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and this is Morning Matters. Pagasa said the country is now transitioning into the dry season. The State Weather Bureau expects the northeast monsoon, or amihan, to weaken by mid-March, signaling hotter temperatures and heightened humidity. By late March to April, the dry season will reach its peak, with some areas likely to experience dangerously high heat indices. As temperatures soar, Pagasa urges the public to stay hydrated, to avoid prolonged sun exposure, and to take necessary precautions to prevent heat-related illnesses. Now, how can we be able to avoid heat-related illnesses? To answer that and more, we have Dr. Eric Tayag, who is also a former DOH executive, and he now joins us here in the Morning Matters studio. Good morning, Doc, and thank you so much for being here live.
Good morning, Pauline, and thank you for inviting me to Morning matters. It really matters.
Yan. O, pwede na pala din mag-sub si Doc kay Gretchen. No, but I wanted to thank you, Doc, for coming all the way here. I see you've already heard a mass for Ash Wednesday.
Yes, and also like most of us praying for the Pope's full recovery. That's very sacred to all Catholics worldwide. And this heat during the hot weather is becoming a heated
Yeah.
conversation for
Conversations.
so many, because how can we actually avoid the consequences, the health effects of extreme heat?
Extreme heat. I wanted to start with that, Doc, no? Because you've served in the DOH for 35 years. Sabi nga, di ba, you served also under 7 presidents in the Philippines and 18 secretaries ng DOH. Did I get that right, Doc?
Right, on spot.
On the spot. So I'm sure every year na monitor naman po ng Health Department ang tag-init, di ba? Yung mga sakit po when it comes to summer and the dry season. But were you shocked na as early as March? I mean, we're only in the first week and here we are already experiencing really high temperatures and yung heat index pa na over 40 degrees.
Okay, on average, historically, March is actually the start of the dry season. Except now that you just mentioned it a while ago, that it's by mid-March that we are going to have the real dry season. But as early as 2 days ago, the heat index was above that which we can say tolerable. And so the Pag-asa Bureau actually cautioned people to be very, very cautious, and because this is gonna impact on senior citizens, the elder persons, and those with comorbidities or with medical conditions.
Senior citizens, people with comorbidities, and of course people who are required to work even if the weather is really hot,
Yeah.
diba?
The
Doc?
one on the streets, those vendors, the traffic
Kahit yung mga
crew.
namamasada, Doc, right? Even
Yes.
drivers, jeepney drivers,
Yes.
tricycle
And
drivers.
so it really doesn't start with immediately with a heat stroke. There is a heat stress. There are, or sometimes we call it heat cramps, and then it progresses to heat exhaustion, and then finally to heat stroke, which is a medical emergency. So what really happens is that how we feel about the weather is, especially if it's hot weather, that's the heat index. And so it's not only temperature, it's
Right.
humidity. So our body adjusts to it, Pauline. So how? So we perspire, there's sweat, and when it evaporates, it cools us. But humidity plays a big factor because evaporation doesn't happen, and so therefore we run into trouble. The body heats up, and when it's heat stroke, someone can die from heat stroke.
Yes.
That's why you have to rapidly reduce the temperature below 39 degrees within the next 30 minutes. And for the next 2 hours, less than 38 degrees, and immediately bring the patient to a hospital. Nothing you do would save that patient.
Well, we're talking about this, Doc, right? Because we want to educate Filipinos about this. Sabi nyo nga po, heat stroke is very serious. It's actually something you cannot just quickly recover from, right? Hindi siya simpleng naiinitan ka lang, mag-faint ka. It could actually lead to a fatal situation. Pero Doc, kailan po ba, ano ba yung symptoms leading up to heat stroke? How do you know that it's, I need to get checked, I need to cool myself down? Any indicators that we should be aware of?
Slowly, you don't notice it, there's dehydration. That's the main factor that causes all these complications from heat-related illnesses. And so therefore, it's advisable that you actually drink water even before you become thirsty.
How many liters, Doc?
The recommendation is 1.5 to 2 liters per day, but during these hot weather episodes, you can add more. But of course, there's a recommendation to add electrolytes, and we are so lucky because we have coconut water, and it's the perfect drink.
I was gonna ask, Doc, kasi diba when you think of electrolytes, even when people advise to put sunblock, mamahalin po kasi ang sunblock ngayon, di ba? Electrolytes also are not really cheap. So it's good that you mentioned coconut water. Okay po ang coconut water, Doc.
Na nagmahal na rin. Nagre-reklamo nga ako kasi when when there's a knock at our door at sasabihin sa akin na nandiyan nagtitinda ng buko. And then, magkano? And then, ay, bawasan ng isa.
Nagmahal na rin pala ang buko.
But
it's a good alternative.
there's a home remedy if you really want to cut your costs. So in a pitcher, measure 1 liter of water, make sure it's clean, and then you add 6 teaspoons of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt. You mix it, and you drink it by cupfuls, and that can give you instant rehydration.
Of course, it goes without saying also to stay indoors, right? And to wear light-colored clothes to avoid, di ba po?
Look
Tama,
for
Doc?
spaces where there's air condition.
Yes,
Okay.
malls.
Now it's
Libre
time
yun.
to make your portable funds shine.
Dapat pala dinala natin yung Doc, no?
I actually brought
You
one.
have one with you, yeah.
And then, of course, the clothes should not be thick as if it's winter
And
when
dark.
it's not. Okay? And make sure you hydrate. Takbo kagad sa silong. And so for those traffic enforcers, we strongly suggest, for example, that they get the silong break. Silong muna sila sa lilim. Lilim break. Let's call it lilim break.
Doc, before we move on to another topic, mainit na usapan ngayon yung pag-suspend ng mga klase dahil daw sa mainit. Usually, we suspend classes because of extreme rain, pag bagyo. But now, may mga ilang cities na nag-suspend nung Monday because sobrang init. Is that valid, Doc? Should we be suspending
It's related to the structure ng paaralan. So if it's not insulated enough, there's no ventilation, there are no ways to make the students or the learners cool enough, and if they're staying for long periods, then it will be a problem. Another one is their capacity to respond. If any of the students actually faint, suffer from these heat-related illnesses, and that's going to hamper the regular activities of the school. So the decision can come from the local government themselves or from the schools.
Okay, Doc. Another health concern we are facing in the country is dengue. Recent outbreak po sa iba-ibang cities. Is this because of climate change? What can we attribute dengue, Doc? At tama po ba na they don't really thrive in dirty places, but in fact, sa mga malilinis pa nga na tubig?
Well, for the information of everyone who's watching now, in 2024, over 400,000 cases of dengue were actually reported, and over 1,200 were reported as deaths. And so dengue remains a risk for half of the world's population. And right now, we are banking on the 4S strategy, and now the Department of Health has pre-launched the 4 o'clock habit so that we can look for or search for mosquito breeding sites. And hopefully, these do not escalate into more dengue cases. But it's really an integrated mosquito control, Pauline. And so parents should watch out for early signs of dengue. This can be confirmed in the laboratory, but anyone can suspect one, especially if a child gets a fever that's high enough, at 38 or 38.5 degrees Celsius. But what's different with dengue among fever-related illnesses is that when the fever disappears, Pauline, that's where the warning signs come out. And so this one results in anxiety not only for parents but for the healthcare providers as well. And so it becomes an emergency for many, but really rehydration works just like the formula I gave earlier. And so to watch out for signs of fever, body aches, and there may be a rash. And immediately, children will be observed losing their appetite, their stomach ache, and there's bleeding from their nose, and so these are signs you should watch out for.
Doc, what about vaccines? In previous years, nagkaroon naman po talaga ng takot, stigma around getting vaccinated. How do you assess the landscape now? Are we still reeling from the Dengvaxia scare?
We're still reeling from the Dengvaxia scare, except that the Department of Justice has offered its conclusions and decisions on the legal complications of Dengvaxia. The other one is that there is another dengue vaccine. It's the Takeda Q dengue vaccine. It's slowly getting some popularity in many countries, especially that dengue is a big menace now, and the World Health Organization has launched a worldwide fight against dengue. It's a pre-qualified vaccine. Any national immunization program of any country can actually procure it, except that no dengue vaccine is now listed with the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration here in the country. What I know is that the Takeda Q dengue vaccine is awaiting any green light from the FDA or DOH.
Well, you mentioned, Doc, now we are still reading from the Dengvaxia scare, but let's clarify things. Did this result in any deaths? Nagkaroon po ba talaga ng mga fatalities dun sa mga nagpabakuna ng Dengvaxia?
Basically, the claims are that there were deaths related to the vaccination using Dengvaxia. This has not been supported by evidence until now, because really the methods used for provoking such statements were dismissed because it lacked the scientific rigor. Now, that also happened for the COVID-19 vaccines.
Right.
There were also claims that this caused harm, deaths, rather than something that was beneficial to all of us. But evidence shows it helped us sway away from danger and more risk during the pandemic. Now, the implications of the Dengvaxia controversy was that it affected the national immunization program of the Department of Health. But we rebounded. There was resilience. In fact, just before the pandemic, the vaccine-derived polio virus outbreak was easily stamped out because families embrace vaccination for children at risk for getting this polio variant, and so we remain polio-free. And then again, it's up and down. There was a time 2 years ago that the Philippines was ranked in the top 5 among countries with zero-dose children, meaning that during the period where they have supposedly been provided with needed vaccines during childhood, there were at least 1 million. But now it's down to just over 100,000. We're not among the list, but we hope this is sustained. We want to prevent repeated outbreaks of pertussis, that was last year, and measles.
Well, as promised, Doc, I said earlier, we won't just be talking about health, but we're so thankful you shared your insights. Pero usapang politika din naman po tayo because you are running in this midterm elections. Kayo po ay tatakbo bilang second nominee ng HEAL-PH.
That's Health Alliance PH.
Health Alliance PH.
Party list. Number 152.
Yan, na-practice nyo talaga, Doc, ha? No, but many are wondering, Doc, di ba nag-retire ka na kasi po from government service, 35 years nga naman sa DOH. Why join Congress? Why join legislation? Why join politics as a second nominee nga ng HEAL-PH?
Okay. There are many ways of how to answer that. I can have easily said, Pauline, why not? And that's the end of the story. But really, it is a motivation for me and the rest of the nominees of the HEAL-PH party list that we make a difference because the health system does not allow us to achieve the goals of universal health care. And healthcare costs are rising. For example, we had a rundown with our economic advisors. We're looking at health expenditures that can run up to 1.4 trillion pesos. In any global report, you will see the Philippines as spending up to 10,000 pesos per capita at our current population. But that's very low compared to Singapore, for example, that spends 1,800 US dollars per capita. But at the national level, 1.4 trillion, so high that the out-of-pocket cost is around 44 to 50%. So, ang ibig sabihin yan, Pauline, dun sa 1.4 trillion, 700 billion lang ang kayang tustusan ng gobyerno, whether that's budget from the taxes or PhilHealth from the premium contributions, or from any other insurance or loans. So we have a deficit of 700 billion. So the party list decided that it's time to eliminate or reduce the out-of-pocket costs. And a good number is to reduce 50% out-of-pocket costs to around 10% or even zero. Is that achievable? We had calculations in the next 5 years. It's really achievable. And the way to provide the message is that for the HEAL PH party list, for us to make it simple, is that the health card.
Health card.
Health
Tell
card
us more about that, Doc.
guarantees every Filipino that there will be no out-of-pocket costs at the point of service. So you have your senior discounts that will continue. You have your PhilHealth reimbursement that will continue. You have your private insurance that will continue. You will have funds from the Philippine Charity Statistics Office, check. From any other funding
Ito po yun.
sources, check yan. And the rest should be covered by that health card. Exactly how do you have that? So there are many ways. One, we have to narrow the gap within the expenditures and the money we can spend for. So 1.4 trillion, pwede bang mababa yun by up to 900 or 800 billion kung kaya natin yun? And so therefore, the cap shrinks to 100 to 300 billion pesos. So how do you do that? Primary care tayo. So we prevent people going to the hospitals right away because it's going to be very expensive. So we prevent. And then, for those who needing hospital care, we have to reduce the cost for hospital care. And there should be some regulation on prices of goods commodities, that's medicines, for example, and also the services that includes professional fees. It should be standardized, but it's not happening now, Pauline. And then the other one is we get more funds. So either we become a very rich country, or we have more efficient, honest-to-goodness tax collection, no corruption, which is question mark.
Medyo
But
hirap po
we
yan,
have
Doc.
something to achieve for. In fact, we were criticized, our HEAL PH party list, that budol-budol lang to, it's impossible. If other countries like Brazil was able to do it, Thailand, why not the Philippines? We have that resolved, the HEAL PH party list. Our first nominee is Dr. John D. Flavier.
Yes.
Yung anak ni former Secretary Senator Flavier. Sabi ko nga kay John D, punta tayo sa palengke, tapos sumigaw na lang tayo doon ng let's do it again. Ikaw, anong sasabihin mo? Kung let's do it again sa'yo, John D, sa akin, gusto ko, healthy ka.
Yan.
Pero, Pauline, totoo yung sinasabi ko kasi alam mo, nakakantsawan yung party list at maaaring madami kami ron. Kasi we do not represent daw yung genuine marginalized sector at meron pang aspersions na ito ay co-opted sa mga political elites or sa mga big businesses.
Correct.
But the proof
But you have
of
to see
the
to that,
pudding
yeah,
is in the eating. So tingnan natin yung performance. Unfortunately, many conclude na lackluster performance ng ating mga party
Party
list. Maybe it's genuine or medyo hindi lang sila nag-ingay. But I'm sure many party lists are here to make a difference sa ating bansa. Huwag naman sanang idamay lahat because every one of us is given the chance to serve our country. Kami ngayon, nasa executive branch ako dati, ngayon naman sa legislative branch. Who knows? I may suddenly be one of those who enact laws that actually will make us achieve a zero out-of-pocket cost sa healthcare.
That is the dream, diba, Doc? For really zero out-of-pocket expenses for Filipinos. Layunin nga, nandyan naman yung batas, ang universal healthcare, yung implementation talaga. But I'm sorry, Doc, we've run out of time, but it was great having you here on the program.
Pauline, thank you so much.
And we wish you all the best sa inyong pangampanya din. Nagsimula
you.
na po ang campaigning for a party
Thank you so
list.
much.
But for now, that was Dr. Eric Tayag, second nominee of HEAL PH Party List and former Undersecretary of the Health Department.
It's number 152.
All right, now don't go away. More matters to discuss after the break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Today, the Catholic faithful observe Ash Wednesday, marking the start of the Lenten season. And to know the situation at Quiapo Church, we have our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, reporting to us live. Hi, Merimon. Can you describe the atmosphere there right now at Quiapo Church as Catholics observe Ash Wednesday?
Pauline, patapos na yung 8 to 9 a.m. Mass dito sa simbahan ng Quiapo na pinamunuan ni Reverend Father Jonathan Mojica. At ito na nga yung pagsisimula ng 40 days into the Lenten season. At dahil sa dami ng tao ng mga nagsisimba, may designated areas sa loob at labas ng simbahan para doon sa pagpapahid ng abo sa kanilang mga noo. Naasahan din na simula ngayong araw, Ash Wednesday hanggang April 20, Easter Sunday, ay mag-o-observe na ang ating mga kapatid ng fasting at abstinence. Pero paalala dito na yung mga senior citizens natin o yung mga kapatid natin na mayroong comorbidities ay hindi pinipilit na mag-participate o i-observe itong fasting na 1 full meal per day plus 2 small meals. At yung abstinence naman na gagawin every Friday of Lent na bawal kumain ng karne pero hinihikayat na kumain ng isda. Pauline.
Alright, maraming salamat para sa update na yan. That was mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. And that's today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Pauline Verzosa sitting in for Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time. Good morning.